Resident Evil is home to several characters who've endured some of the worst terrors imaginable. Some familiar names that come to mind are Sherry Birkin, Lisa Trevor, Natalia Corda, and many others. However, there's one person who flew under the radar amongst the masses of RE characters who've experienced serious pain and trauma. Remember this guy?
The only safe place is in here!
That's Dario Rosso, and it just so happens that he's endured one of the most traumatic incidents imaginable during the events of the Raccoon City outbreak. So guys, sit tight and let's delve into this tragic untold backstory of Dario Rosso. Dario Rosso is a minor character present throughout both RE3 Nemesis and RE3 Remake. He was just a regular salesman, although it was apparent that he hated his job. He always wanted to become a novelist, although the lack of support from his mother ultimately led him down a different path. Sometime during September of 1998, Dario took him, his wife, daughter, and mother to Raccoon City, as he had a business meeting that he'd had to attend there. Here, they registered at a hotel called the Apple Inn. Little did they know that this would be the literal worst possible time for them to go on family vacation to this godforsaken city, because not long after, on September 24th, the T-virus outbreak across Raccoon City would officially be set in stone. On this day, Dario and his family were forced to leave the Apple Inn and fend for themselves on the zombie-infested streets of Raccoon City. There was absolutely no hope for them, as everyone around them was being torn apart by the undead and there wasn't any aid in sight. A few days later, between September 26th and 28th, Dario would endure some of the worst horrors imaginable. We have to remember, Dario and his family are going on days without any shelter or help. Although, as long as they had already managed to survive, it would appear that luck was not on their side. Unfortunately, Dario's wife, daughter, and mother were soon devoured by the undead, where he witnessed the entire situation. This alone would be enough to drive anyone to insanity. Although it isn't canon, I think it's worth mentioning an alternate scenario for Dario and his family shown in the Chinese manhwa, Biohazard 3: The Last Escape, Volume 1. Here we can see Dario and his family traveling through a dark alley as they come across a group of zombies in the street. Dario's wife tries to hold their daughter's mouth shut to keep her from freaking out. However, they didn't notice the zombie in the alley right behind them. After they're attacked, they're forced into the streets to find a means of escape. Dario's wife ends up accidentally tripping in the street, causing their daughter to lag behind trying to help her mother up. Dario ends up making it to a metal gate, but apparently there wasn't enough time for his wife and daughter to get through without zombies breaking through as well. He ultimately makes the selfish decision of locking both his wife and daughter behind the gate to be devoured by hordes of the undead, while he runs away like a coward. Like I said, this part isn't canon, but I thought it was an interesting piece worth mentioning. Petrified of what he just experienced, Dario would end up fleeing to uptown Raccoon City and hiding in a warehouse in the area. This is where he would ultimately be found by Jill Valentine, who tries to persuade him to come with her to the helicopter evac zone not far away. His reaction differs in both the original and the remake, but I think the original does him way more justice. In the remake, he kinda comes off as a jerk because he never talks about his wife and daughter like how he did in the original, so it's kind of hard to understand his situation.
Sir, are you alright?
Stay back! Don't come any closer!
Hey, come on. There's a helicopter waiting to take you to safety.
What safety? I'm not going out there!
The parking garage isn't
The
far.
only safe place is in here!
Sir, what's your name? I can't just leave you behind.
It's Dario Rosso. And yeah, right. You just want to steal my safe house. Get your own, Missy.
Missy?
In the original, we're able to understand his situation a lot more as he gives insight into the hell that he'd been put through.
What do you think you're talking about? I just lost my daughter out there! How dare you tell me to go back outside?
I'm sorry about your daughter, but there isn't gonna be any rescue. We have to get out of here!
No! I'm not going anywhere! I'd rather starve to death in here than be eaten by one of those undead monsters! Now leave me alone!
However, in both iterations, Dario would end up sealing himself in the shipping container and writing his will, which reads, "I can't help but wonder if anyone will read these words, but writing them will help me maintain my sanity if nothing else. After I've become a meal for those undead monsters, will the GIs responsible for sealing off the town laugh upon discovering my corpse? So is this how it's supposed to end? I don't want to die, I'm just not ready. My wife, daughter, mother, my entire family has been killed. But none of that matters anymore. Right now, my life is the only important thing. That's all that matters. I never would have pictured my end to be like this. I had so much left to do. Rather than becoming a salesman, I should have tried my hand at being a novelist. It's what I've always wanted, but my mother would only tell me that you have a long way to go. Why did I ever listen to her? But this looks like the end for the great Dario Rosso, novelist extraordinaire, cut down before his prime. Because the original and the remake differ considerably, it's unknown if Dario survived or not. In the original, Joel ends up returning to the warehouse to find the shipping container open and zombies feasting on somebody in the building. Upon closer inspection, she finds that it's Dario. It can be assumed that he tried to leave the warehouse once he heard zombies trying to invade the building, but was ultimately not successful in his escape. He was eventually eaten alive by the group of zombies, dying a terrible death. However, in the remake, Joel isn't actually able to get back to the warehouse, so it's unknown what happened to him. Although, if we assume that he stayed inside the container like he said he would, it's likely that he never found a means of escape and ultimately died in the destruction of Raccoon City. What Dario Rosso had to go through is one of the most horrifying circumstances anyone could be faced with, and is definitely a very depressing story from the depths of the Resident Evil lore. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick video on the tragic untold story of Dario Rosso. If you want to sink your teeth into even more disturbing Resident Evil backstories, then go ahead and click on this video right here. But thank you all for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.